Happy Monday. Today we're talking all about how many LinkedIn connections you actually need in your network. You might be surprised how many or how few you actually need to get those results. More on that in a minute. How was your weekend? It's officially spring here, and I'm excited to see the trees start coming back to life. I love this time of year. It was something I definitely missed when we lived on Oahu because you didn't really get that change of the seasons feeling. You kind of always wore the same clothes. You might get a few blustery days where you had to throw on a sweatshirt, but the weather was pretty much the same every day. So I'm really appreciating it this time around. So ready to start pulling out some t-shirts and shorts, hopefully very soon. So now it is time for Mondays with Mindy. This is a weekly show on Mondays, you guessed it, where I talk about all things LinkedIn pipeline, promo, and profiles, what I call the 3 Ps of LinkedIn. Do you have questions about LinkedIn that you want me to answer? Be sure to like this post. Whether you're watching live or from the replay, leave your questions below. You can be off topic. It doesn't have to be related to today's topic. You can leave any LinkedIn question below, and I will either answer it after the show or on a future episode of Mondays with Mindy. So let's get right to today's topic. How many LinkedIn connections do you need in your network? This is a question I get asked a lot, especially by people who are either looking for their next job, they are trying to grow their presence and become a thought leader or an influencer, they are trying to grow their business in a way where influencer status doesn't matter, but they really want to make sure they have the right number of prospects and warmed up people inside their network so they can actually get new connections that lead to new business. So, no matter where you are in the spectrum, having the right size network is critical to success on LinkedIn. When people say that they are getting results or growing their business using LinkedIn, what they actually mean is not that they are getting lots of engagement on their posts, but they are actually connected to the right people inside of their network. And those relationships are leading to business growth for them. So if you want to join the cool kids on LinkedIn, here's how to do it. The funny thing is that a lot of people think that bigger is always better when it comes to your LinkedIn network. So people will try to go really aggressive and push the limits when it comes to growing their network. Or they think that there's a magic number of connections they need to grow their business or leverage their impact. So, most of my fellow LinkedIn experts will advise you to grow your network as big as possible if you want to be seen as a thought leader, especially. The thing is, what good is a ginormous LinkedIn network if you're not using it effectively? Here's what I've seen happen to a lot of people that I've worked with over the years. When they come to me and they're like, Mindy, I have actually gotten really aggressive and I've grown my network and here's where I'm at now and I'm not getting results. And I spent all this time, all this money, all these resources and it's not converting for me. So what could happen if you take this approach where bigger is better is you could get connected to people who just want to sell you something. That happens all the time. You're going to get that no matter what, by the way. So just be prepared. People are going to pitch you on LinkedIn at some point in time. You can't avoid it, but you may get pitched a lot if you are connected to the wrong people. You could also decide to start nurturing relationships on LinkedIn, but you have no idea where to start. I mean, if you have 4,373 connections that you're connected to, people that you actually like, maybe you know them, maybe you don't, where do you start? If your network is really, really huge, it can be very difficult to go through that list to figure out, these people are actually people I should reach out to, these people that don't matter. So that could be difficult. You could also feel like your network is just kind of a hodgepodge of people from your past. So many of them may not even be relevant to what you're doing now or to your current career or your business objectives. So do you stay connected to them or not connected to them, or what do you do? Or you could see that your engagement on LinkedIn posts is really, really low because the people who are inside your network don't care about your topic. And your engagement rate is figured out by how many connections you have to the number of those connections who are actually engaging with your content. That's where your engagement number comes from, your engagement rate number. So if you have, for example, 10,000 people in your network and only 1% of them care about the content you're sharing, your engagement rate is going to be probably very, very low. So, this is a problem I come across a lot with people who have massive networks, but they've changed or pivoted. And a lot of the people that are inside their networks don't fit anymore. You could also discover that all those connections are never going to buy from you, which is kind of disappointing in a way, but they're not your perfect prospects or collaborators or business colleagues that you actually want in your network and you need to streamline. So, a lot of things can happen if you just go hog wild on LinkedIn and get connected to everyone because bigger is better. So, what do you do? How do you actually dial in your network? How do you make it more strategic, if we want to use the buzzy word of strategic? But when you get this just right, your potential superfans, your industry peers, your perfect prospects, they will all start gravitating towards you and paying more attention to what you post on LinkedIn. You'll notice that your engagement rate starts to go up. Not down, because people actually care about what you're posting and they're sharing it with their friends. They're tagging you, they're commenting. It's the secret that nobody tells you when they give you their top 5 tips to get more engagement on your LinkedIn post. Hint, hint, it's all about who's inside your network, not how viral you go or if you get the attention of some famous influencer. It is about the people inside your network and if they care about the content that you're sharing. So, hey there. For those who don't know me, my name is Mindy Rosser. I'm the founder of Mindy Rosser Marketing, and I have a group program called the LinkedIn Accelerator for those who want to go from 0 to 60 on LinkedIn with their profile and their network. We wrapped up the first cohort of 2023 already, but you can get on the summer waitlist. I will share the link at the end of this episode, or you can just message me and say, Mindy, how do I get on the Accelerator waitlist? I will definitely give you the link. All right. So I help business leaders who feel they are the best kept secret in their industry to become that go to visible expert in their niche so they can get that next opportunity, grow their business, and scale their impact. In this live, we are talking about why growing your network too big can dilute your overall engagement levels and also prevent you from connecting one to one with the people who matter most. Plus, I'm going to share 5 benchmarks for network numbers to shoot for if you're just getting started or you're trying to get more strategic with your network. I find like it's pretty helpful to have an idea like, okay, well, Mindy, how big should my network be? I know it's not just about being quantitative. We also want it to be qualitative, but give me some idea of the numbers. I will share some numbers a little further in this live. So go ahead and like this post, whether you're live or watching from the replay, to give it some social love. So, have you heard of a Dunbar's number? Okay. Some of you are like, sounds familiar. I think I know what it is. What is it exactly? It's basically that number floating around the interwebs that gives a bunch of scientific reasons why there's a limit to the number of people you can interact closely with socially. So, like how many people are inside your social circle, I can never say that, that actually and you feel like, okay, you could probably pick up the phone and call them, you could text them and they'd respond. So, beyond that number, and usually it's between 150 to 250. Those of you who are super connectors, you may be able to maintain relationships above that number. This is just a general guideline. The strength of the connection or attention you can give to that relationship kind of starts to dissipate, or it's just not as strong as it is, within your core 150 to 250 people. So now your LinkedIn network is not necessarily all filled with people who drop whatever they're doing to hop on a Zoom call or do virtual coffee with you, but I feel that we can apply a similar principle to our LinkedIn networks. Do I recommend having a network that is only 250 people strong? Most of the time, not. Though I have worked with a few clients who said, Mindy, I do want a LinkedIn network that is tiny because I want every single person inside my network to be somebody who I could literally pick up the phone and call right now, and they would pick up on the other end every single time. That was their intention. That was their goal. Is that the majority of people? No. But if that's your thing, okay, you can go with that too. You can actually know every single person that well inside your LinkedIn network. But I feel like for most of us, that's not necessary. LinkedIn is not Instagram. It's not Twitter. It's not Facebook. I like to view my own LinkedIn network as a new and improved digital version of the good old fashioned Rolodex. Now, I never actually had a Rolodex. I always wanted one. And I do remember my dad had one. He had one like way back, I think it was the 90s. Yeah, 90s. He had one and it was cool because you could like flip through it. I thought it was just like super, super neat. So my LinkedIn network is filled with business peers, colleagues, friends, professionals, fans, clients, contractors, and perfect prospects. So I have a blend of lots of different types of people. Now, I could try to just add more people to this list for the sake of more, but I have limited time. I'm like you. I have a lot of other things. I have pets. I have a cat and a dog and a daughter and son and another older daughter and husband. I mean, I have a lot going on, right? And I only want to focus on the people whom I can help the most. Those I enjoy following professionally for any number of reasons, and people who are aligned with where my business focus is now. Right. So I'm thinking in terms of professional. I'm thinking in terms of my career. Where am I headed next? Who are the people that I can help? Who are the people who can help me get to that next level if that's where I'm going? Or who can I connect people with? So I'm thinking in terms of connection. Bigger for the sake of more is not the game on LinkedIn. I'll say that again. Bigger just for the sake of more is not the game on LinkedIn. So when you are on LinkedIn, stop trying to play the other social game. A lot of other channels you think of like TikTok, I think of Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those other ones where it really is the bigger your network, the better. The more eyeballs you get on your content, the better. So on LinkedIn, that is not the game. The game is to actually go deeper with the people you're connected with. So it's a little bit of a different strategy. You also want to think in terms of balancing your LinkedIn network with the right people. So imagine that you're trying to find the perfect designer for your book cover, or you're looking for a developer to help you create the next big app. Where would you look first? Think about it. I think a lot of us would go, I probably would look at my email and I would probably type in some keywords because there may be some stuff in your archive or people you've connected with in the past. You're like, oh, what was that person's name? If it's not your LinkedIn network, if you're not immediately going to your LinkedIn network to look up these people, that's a really interesting insight, right? Because your LinkedIn network should have all of those business connections in it. It should be your Rolodex. What I do when I'm looking for, helping a client, for example, one of my clients recently came to me and said, Mindy, I'm looking for help with somebody who can do paid social. Like, I am not a paid social expert, but I am connected to some. So, what did I do first? First, you're like thinking, okay, who do I know? Who do I know? Does anybody immediately come to mind? They needed somebody for Twitter. They needed somebody for LinkedIn. They needed somebody in Google and search. So I actually went straight to my LinkedIn network and I started typing in my LinkedIn DMs and start typing in Twitter ads and paid social, just different types of keywords to see who popped up and who I had communication with. There was somebody who immediately came to mind for Google search, Google ads. There's somebody I've consulted with over time, but Twitter ads, yeah, I'm like, I think I know somebody. And so it actually started with my LinkedIn network, and I was able to find some people to recommend and say, oh, yeah, here's so and so, here's their LinkedIn profile, and here's what we communicated about a while back. I've consulted with them on these specific campaigns. Boom, it was right there. So LinkedIn can be really, really valuable when you use it well, when you actually start conversations and kind of keep up with people in your DMs. So many people will instead hop onto a platform like Fiverr or Upwork to find complete strangers, or they'll do a LinkedIn search and just look somebody up and cross their fingers, hope for the best, and hope that the person that they're hiring is actually who they say they are. But when your LinkedIn network is jam packed with good people doing good business, you never need to look elsewhere. And that's a beautiful feeling. You get to be that connector. You get to help people work with each other. A great LinkedIn network has the right balance of people for your business. Now, you don't need to measure this balance at all times. Like, you don't have to say, I have 10% of this group of people and I have 20% of that group. No, that's not what I'm talking about. It's more of a mindset thing and how to approach inviting new people to your network or accepting connection invitations from others. So, moving forward, whenever you're wondering whom to add to your LinkedIn network, ask yourself, would this person benefit from connecting with you? And if you could benefit from connecting with them, like, it should be a two-way street. They should feel great about connecting with you, and you should feel great about connecting with them. Maybe there's nothing you want to do together immediately, but they would just be a good person to know in the future because you just never know where things may lead. So this sounds really simple, right? But being mindful of this when you're sifting through dozens of inbound connections per day or starting to reach out to others to build your network, the connection should be obviously mutually beneficial. Okay. Should be obvious that the two of you should be connected. So, got it? That's a basic rule of thumb when it comes to LinkedIn connections. So, let's talk about size. How do you right size your LinkedIn network? How do you know how many people you actually need to get the results that you want? Is there a magic number? So I said I'd share my 5 favorite benchmarks for building a strategic network with you. So keep in mind that you don't need to work your way through all of them. You're not trying to get to level 5 just because more is better. No, not everybody needs to work through all the levels and benchmarks that I'm going to share today. So keep in mind that figure out where you are now, where you want to go, and you want to find that sweet spot for yourself that feels just right. And I think of that Goldilocks, right? Not too hot, not too cold, but just right. Again, don't feel that you need to go beyond the sweet spot unless you have a strategic business objective in place, unless you have a reason to go beyond it. All right, so let's talk through them. The first 100 connections. All right, you knew I was going to say this, right? You have to get 100 connections. If you are on LinkedIn, I don't care if you want to be one of those people, like I mentioned earlier, that has people they can call up on the phone and they would pick up. You need at least 100. All right, so you need 100 connections on LinkedIn. If you are new to LinkedIn, if you're just getting started, if you have recently cleaned out your LinkedIn connections and you're starting from scratch, you need 100 connections who are a good fit for you now. So if you're just getting started, that's okay. These first 100 should be relatively easy to get by asking people you already know. So I recommend looking in your business email for fellow professionals whom you already know that you could get connected with. Another idea is to join some industry groups on Facebook or LinkedIn and start interacting with the group members. Then you can reach out to fellow members to ask them to connect with you on LinkedIn. Whatever you do, please do not ever spam to get these connections. I've seen people do that. It's horrible. Don't do it. So go broad, but make sure that they deserve a spot in your network. Remember, we're thinking obviously mutually beneficial. It should be good for them to connect with you and good for you to connect with them. So once you get those first 100, the others are actually going to come a bit more easily, especially if you have a decent looking LinkedIn profile. If you do not have a decent looking LinkedIn profile, I will share a link at the end of this live to help you get that decent looking LinkedIn profile, because it is critical that your LinkedIn profile is dialed in. Otherwise, you will never get to this 100 easily. It will be very challenging because people will be a little bit suspicious, or as my kids will say, sus. They look sus on LinkedIn because you have not fully fleshed out your LinkedIn profile. So make sure your profile is dialed in before you start connecting with people. All right. Next level is what I call the magic 500. So what you want to do here is you're trying to go from that 100. So you've got your first 100 connections. Now your next level is magic 500. Just about every single person I know on LinkedIn should get to the magic 500. This is really important from a credibility perspective. So on LinkedIn, when people come to your profile, if they see you have 500 plus connections, they're going to be more likely to connect with you, because that means you have been on LinkedIn long enough, you are connected to good people, and they can trust you. You're not a bot. So this is where you're going to start branching out and might be connecting with people whom you don't know very well yet. So if you want to build a really healthy balance of types of people in your LinkedIn network, start thinking about the professionals you'd like to collaborate with. Who might be an ally to your business, or who would make for a good contractor? I wouldn't recommend going after any prospects. That's is kind of a touchy one. Like, some people want to go after prospects right away. I usually say wait until you get to 500, because you are going to be much more effective. People are going to trust you more once you have 500 connections. So go for those warmer connections. Again, look in those LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups, any communities you're a part of, any associations, anything like that that would make it easy for you to reach out and say, hey, we're both a part of this group. Let's get connected. That will help you get to that first 500 relatively easily. So focus on growing your network with like-minded people and professionals in your industry and outside your industry when it makes sense. And if you need some ideas on the types of connection requests to send, go and look up Mindy Rosser connection invitations. Just Google that and you will see some articles where I have written about connection invitations if you're feeling stuck and you're like, Mindy, I don't know what to say. All right, so let's talk about the next level of business connections. So this is what I call the LinkedIn for business level. If you are looking to grow your business using LinkedIn, I say you need about 1,000 to 3,000 connections to do this well. I like this. This is what I call the sweet spot for many people who want to have a decent sized network and the ability to use LinkedIn most effectively. Many of you don't even need to go beyond this network number. So 3,000 connections may be a lot for you. And you may not even need that many in your network, especially if they are chosen strategically and they are aligned with your business. So your LinkedIn engagement rate will likely be much higher than some others in the other categories, that I'll talk about in a moment, because these connections should be very much aligned with your business, with your objectives, with your career, and what you're sharing on LinkedIn. So when you are strategic, when you are thoughtful about who to add to your network, people are more likely to engage with your content because it is what they want to learn about. So if you keep your network of connections on the smaller end, I would call this the smaller end. It's not bad, but it's not massive. You will pretty much know just about everyone in your network by their name and their areas of expertise. You're also in the right range to start reaching out to your perfect prospects at this level and get into some one-to-one conversations. So I love this range. I think it looks like you are very well connected, especially if these people are meaningful connections. All right. Next level, number 4, thought leader. So 3,000 to about 10,000 connections. If you look at my profile now, I am in this range. I'm like 8,000 something, I think, at this point of this recording. So this is my range at the moment. Once you get above 3,000 people in your network, you're likely feeling pretty confident about using LinkedIn, how to use the platform to reach the people who matter to your career or your business, or you hired somebody to help you do it. So if you took a thoughtful approach to building to this level, you are going to have multiple someones in every single category for your business. You're going to have colleagues, friends, peers, prospects, clients. The problem happens when you get to this number artificially or prematurely by spamming a bunch of people just to get your numbers up. I've worked with some people who have done this and unintentionally grew their network very, very large, but didn't realize the repercussions of having all of these wrong people inside their network. So you're likely not getting the engagement you were hoping for if you're at this level, but you're like, Mindy, nobody engages with my content. I share something and I might get 10 likes total. Okay. And no comments. And I'm lucky to get those 10 likes. So if you are finding it very difficult to get engagement from this level of connection, you may want to look at the people inside your network. That's okay. You can still recover. You can either go through your network and kind of take people out that don't belong. You can remove connections, or you can just say, from this point forward, I'm going to add connections who fit these categories, or our business prospects or our collaborators or people who would be interested in the type of content that I share and in the direction I am headed. So keep that in mind. It's okay. You don't have to go back through all of your connections and remove and sort them. Just keep in mind that moving forward, you are making an intention to actually only add the right types of people for you moving forward. So, unless you want to start removing connections, you don't have to go through all that trouble. But in a perfect world, if you have a great network, this level, this 3,000 to 10,000 connections, can sustain most small to medium sized B2B businesses with a solid pipeline of prospects and supportive collaborators. This is a wonderful size. I hope to kind of stay at this size. I'm actually going through some of mine and removing some connections at the moment. So this size I feel like is ideal for most of us. All right, now for those of you who are like, Mindy, but I have to become an influencer, that's where I'm headed. I really want to get to that next level. And, I have a book, I'm an author, I'm a speaker. The more, the merrier. Then you are in the influencer range. You're 10,000 plus. You are shooting for that 10K and you want to grow beyond that. So, congrats. You've reached the influencer level once you hit this point. Many influencers are far above this range. You're going to see influencers who have 100,000. Some people have even more than that when it comes to followers. So some in the tens of thousands or more. But I think this 10,000 number, this 10K number, is ideal if you're striving to be considered influential, or if we're using a buzzy word, a thought leader, an especially good thought leader in your niche. So getting above 10,000 LinkedIn connections likely means you have a lot of people in your network whom you don't plan to keep in close contact with over time. And that's totally fine if being influential is the objective. Just make sure you are not shooting for this number because you think it's going to generate more prospects for you, or will make you more popular, or will get more people to engage with your content. It really matters the type of people that you add to your network is what will make or break your success on LinkedIn. So many authors I've worked with like to get above 10,000 before they launch because this gives them more credibility and the potential to engage with their audience and hopefully turn them into readers. At this level, you may also have a large number of perfect prospects whom you're already connected with on LinkedIn, which allows you the opportunity to reach out to them one to one to build that business relationship and go deeper. So, as long as you have not wasted your messages on spammy messages to get to this point, you are in a really good place because you can go through that list of connections and figure out, okay, which of these do I want to go deeper with? Because you've already built such a strong foundation of connections. So there you have it. All 5 benchmarks for LinkedIn network size and where you might want to grow into as you focus more on using LinkedIn for business. Now, go look at your LinkedIn network now and give it some thought. Are you happy with your current network size? If you are, great. Keep it at that size or just continue to add people every single week, which is what I recommend as you come across new business connections. Is there a need to grow it bigger? Like, do you need to make a concerted effort to actually grow your LinkedIn network to get to the next level? Should you swap out some connections for those who are better aligned? These are questions that only you can answer, and you have to think about it. Like, just even if you're taking 5 minutes, you're like, Mindy, 5 minutes after this live stream, I'm going to think about my network and what I want to do next. If you're struggling to figure out what to do next, that's okay. Post a question below, shoot me a direct message to discuss. I am happy to go deeper in this topic and tailor it to what you're thinking and your specific situation. So just shoot me a DM on LinkedIn and I'm happy to answer it. Now, before you start growing your network, we talked about this earlier, you better give your LinkedIn profile a quick checkup. So make sure that your LinkedIn profile is dialed in. If you have not done that recently, check out this link below, mindyrosser.com/ LinkedIn reboot. I have a free 3-part mini training called How to Reboot Your LinkedIn Profile to Grow Your Network. It is jam-packed with templates, examples, and a step-by-step approach to optimize your headline, like we talked about last week on the show, and the 2 most important parts of your About section, which is especially helpful for building a strong network. So check it out. Let me know if you have questions along the way. I am happy to take a peek at your LinkedIn profile and provide feedback. So I will see you all next week on Mondays with Mindy. We're actually going to be talking about how to go about measuring your ROI, so your return on investment on LinkedIn, without getting too far into the weeds. So it should be a very fun topic. Feel free to leave questions or comments below, and my inbox is open if you want to message me directly. I will see you all then. Have a beautiful rest of your week. Bye for now.